So by the time other people join, I'll go through the product in which we will be learning exactly today, and obviously you will get the code base access and all the workings of this. And this is literally based on the first two sessions that we had. All we went from very basic levels, and we have literally arrived here. And this is a clone, or I would say a clone plus a multifold approach with a different thought process of Google's Notebook LM, and it has similar or more functionalities which you can uh, also use after the session. You can see how they work. You can build it for yourself. You can build it further, and obviously you'll understand by the end of the session how these LLM tools work. So what this app works on is it works with Anthropic, it works with 11 Labs, it works with OpenAI, Google Gemini, right? It has a vector embedding system. It has a AI-based web search. It connects to your, a Google Drive account, so that you can even fetch sources and data just like you fetch in Google's Notebook LM. So you can come in, you can create projects within the projects. Within the projects, there are certain differences. There are certain extra features that Notebook LM does not provide, which are logically, as in they look the same, but logically they're very different. So you have sources wherein a lot of AI processing of every source happens. You can upload sources of any kind, PDF files, text files, docx files, audio files, images, CSV files. Then either you can paste links, you can paste YouTube URLs, you can paste your own content directly. You can connect your Google Drive and you can fetch files from your Google Drive. You can run a research agent to create sources for you. It will do in-depth research. It will create documentation which can be further utilized as a source, the source that is accessible with this chat panel. So this chat panel is different than a Notebook LM. Notebook LM does not actually have a chat panel. This is a search query system that whatever you do by default, it'll run a search query, and the search query is connected to sources. And this studio panel that you see, this studio panel is not connected to this query system. It is directly connected to your sources. So that creates a lot of inconsistencies in terms of the workflow, which I'll come to. So that's why I kept it very different from Notebook LM in terms of that. So I'll just show you sample chats that I've already done. So like this is a chat where I wanted to learn philosophy first. I created research about Plato's greatest dialogues. Then I asked that I want to learn it in very simple languages. It has the same citation, vector-based vector rack system, just like your Notebook LLM. Notebook LLM has your search systems. It is uh, I would say equally accurate, or sometimes even actually more accurate. It has better responses. Then, if only and only if on the task that you're doing in your chat window, based on that, it will activate these sections. This chat window would give context to these studio icons and actions, and these studio icons and actions will get this context, plus obviously they can access the sources. So now if I told it that I want to learn this and I wanted a layman's term, it automatically activated a quiz, a flashcard, and an audio overview, which now I can generate, right? So for example, if I do this in Notebook LM by default, uh, I have an infographic or or a report generation, right, which is not necessary for me when I'm learning. And I have 6 sources here and in a project, and the report will be based on all the 6 sources, ignoring what I'm trying to figure out. So that is kind of broken what I felt. So I changed the approach here, and this is very contextual and works literally on what you're trying to do here, right? Another example. So this also has a database analysis system wherein you kind of can run large scale queries and business analysis on thousands of records of data. So this is data for an e-commerce store. So I literally asked it what are my best selling products. So it ran a lot of queries, and based on those queries, it gave me that data. Additionally, it generates graphs, pie charts, infographics. And since now I'm working on a business, then I asked, okay, I would want to run ads for my top selling products. So when I said I want to run ads for my top selling products, it automatically activated my ad creative section of my business suite, because now this is relevant. So then if when I click on this, it automatically generates the ad creatives just like your any other LM service, and these are the ads for my top selling products, which I can go ahead and run on Facebook, right? And a lot of other functionalities. It has your memory system, like any chat GPT or a cloud service, which has a user memory and a project memory, where user memory is automatically stored and built across across projects, and project memory sustains across chats. Source is obviously every project has a source which sustains across chats, but like a certain memory, what the user is trying to achieve in that product, also gets stored. Uh, then you have your whisper flow functionality, wherein you can just dictate in any language. You can dictate in 100 languages. Again, the audio generation is also available in 100 languages. Same goes for dictation, real time dictation. So I'll right now dictate in real time, and that dictation will automatically start rendering here, and as soon as I stop, it comes here. And that can be done in multiple languages. So overall, the functionalities, it has web-based AI agents, it has your workflow agents, it has RAG agents, it has research agents, it has audio transcript, script writing agents, it has database analysis agents, it has this same tool has your what would you say, dictation tools. Then there are a lot of processing agents, because like LLMs don't directly process multiple kinds of files. They can't actually see images, or they can't read PDF files or PPT files. So there are processes of actually making an LLM see that data. Right, so that is what we will learn. Let's give it a couple of more minutes, then I will start with a quick overview of what we did in the first two sessions, and then based on those first two sessions, how did we arrive at this product directly in the third session. Because it looks like a large product, or a lot of functionalities which a lot of actual production products also don't have. And if you go through the first two sessions and spend 15 days or 30 days of time, rigorously, confidently, even you can build that. And to be honest, I have literally built this product in the last 4 days, just last 4 days. And I have not written a single line of code. I don't know how to write code. I'll be very upfront. I just know how to solve problems, and how can I solve those problems, and I just try to figure out. I'll search, I chat with the LM, I'll try to find solutions, and then I'll just chat and implement those solutions. So there are at least 20,000 lines of code for this product to be live and working, but I have not written even a not even a single line, except some prompts, nothing more.
Hey Neil, the session is being recorded, is it?
Yeah, the session is being recorded.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Sandeep, you have a question?
Yeah, just wanted to check. So, Neil, while doing this, right, will you also kind of go through the token usage details a bit? Because I was
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
to implement the last couple of sessions that we had, right? And I think the token usage is something which would be good to
So
understand. Yeah,
I've literally built a function for this
right.
thing. When in every project, in a real time, you will see the approximate cost. I can't calculate the exact cost, because there is always a certain difference of 5-10% of token usage based on cloud billing and what I see here. But you will see an approximate cost of every project, and this is the cost right now. I have spent around 3 million input tokens on Sonnet, 140K. I'll zoom into this. This is input and output tokens for both the models that are being used there. So you'll see that, and this is within the code. There is a cost calculator function which calculates in real time the cost of all the AI functions that are being used. And except Anthropic, all the services that you see here, right, they are on the free tier. And if you have to learn, practice, or maybe use like a few hours a day, it is almost free of cost. Only if you do a lot, like for example, for testing, I have uploaded PDF files of 500 pages, just to see and ensure it works properly. So I'm pretty sure no one is going to upload 500 pages of PDF every day. That is just one time or a two time thing. I've uploaded, meeting recordings of 180 minutes, etc. That's why you see this. And after that, this is the cost. Yes, Sandeep.
That makes sense. Thanks so much.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, so whenever, if you have any doubts or anything, you can drop that in the meeting chat, and I'll try to answer whenever within the session I can. Right. So cool. So let's get started. So I'll give a brief overview of what we did in the first two sessions and how we built, how we arrived at this third session and how we are building this product. So I'll just go into the scary part of stuff, which might look scary at first, but this is nothing more than a file viewer and a chatbot. People call it an IED, but I would suggest that, don't think it in that direction, because that is the only blocker. Except that, I don't think there is any blocker to build these kind of products. So if you go to GitHub also, you will find the same resources of learning. So these are the two levels we did in the first session. These are the two levels we did in the second session, and this is the third session. So I'll just go through what we did in the first session. So this is what we did. So this is basically one API call, right? If you see, this is 6 lines of code, except that over and above is all printing random stuff, which is not uh, very important. It is just for learning, because in those sessions when if you also run these files, it will just print what is actually happening and what this API call is, and why I'm saying that, if you go through and learn through this API call, it is very different time of learning this stuff. So if I compare it to any other API service or any other tech product, right? If I want to learn or get into technology, and I want to practice, so I can find products like, maybe Stripe or maybe Shopify. But what do I do with that? So if I go to Stripe, they will have 100 APIs, and every API would be for maybe a subscription service, a product service, customer service, create a order, create a product, update a product, delete a product, multiple methods for APIs, and which would give me no random response. But with LLMs, what happens is Cloud or OpenAI or any other service, 95% of their 95% of their product works on literally one API endpoint and one method, which is called message and create. And you can read this, that I am opening my Anthropic client, and I am telling my Anthropic client that I want to send a message using this model, and this is my message. I am the user, and I'm telling you, hello Cloud. That's all. That is one API call. To this, the AI would respond to me. Now, this is where it gets fun. I can ask it a joke. I can ask it to do multiple things. Now, this same API can build me a presentation. This same API can do a web search for me. This same API can build me Lovable or a website. It can build me workflow automations, right? So this one API has literally evolved into this product that we just saw the demo, which we will go in depth in this session, right? So I'll not run these codes of the first and second session because it'll take a lot of time, if I go through that again. But if you like this session, I would suggest you go through this, and it is from a very basic level. It is literally mentioned step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. So this is the step 1 that you have to understand, that there is an API call, and the API endpoint is called message, and it returns a response. That's all. And the step 2 is again the same API. If you can see, I'll try to zoom in a little more. Yeah, it's visible, right? So yeah, so again, this is the same API, client message, Sonnet, but this time I'm sending two additional parameters, which is what you can't control when you are using a chat GPT or a Cloud on your web chatbots. So they have a certain system prompt. So these are system instructions that you can add, which is called a parameter. You can add to that API, which controls the output of, which is basically the response when you send your user message. Again, I would send hello. So here in this system prompt, I've written that you are the founder of GrowthX, your name is Udayan, and you will always respond to people by saying what's up champ. So now whenever I say hello, it will respond to me, hi, what's up champ, I'm Udayan. Now I just controlled that API with adding a simple parameter of a system prompt. Then the second parameter is called temperature. Again, this you can't control in any third-party product or any third-party service, because they are writing these APIs and wrappers and building those products for you. right? So they have control over this, so you can't override that. Obviously, you can add your custom instructions here, but still these instructions are they hold a little more weightage, right? So this is temperature. This controls how a LLM will decide what the next token is. This is basically probability. The lower the temperature, how LLMs work is they basically search for a lot of data in real time. They match through a lot of tokens, a lot of vectors, and they have a certain value on which they predict. Okay, if this is say at 0, so then the LLM will predict the next token which has 90% probability. So for example, when in general, if I'm reading a message, I just read the first word, or even your Google keyboard, right? If you write hello on your Google keyboard, so the next three words it will predict, three options it will predict will be how are you, right? Three random words, or hello exclamation mark, because the probability of those three tokens is very high, because generally that's what happens when people communicate, and that is what this temperature controls. When you make it higher, then it'll tone down that probability part, and it will allow prediction of tokens which maybe a 20% probability or a 30% probability. So that's why this temperature part is useful when you are trying to maybe write a fiction story, or trying to maybe do a little more creative work, because uh, it will predict tokens which are probabilistically less, and it does not follow a similar pattern where you might find everywhere, right? So for example, if I keep the temperature at 0.1, then it will, if I write Maruti car, my car is Maruti, it will say 800, because maybe at a large level maximum people had 800, right? But if I keep it at 1, so then it can say Baleno, sometimes it can say Swift. With in every response it would be different, it will not be fixed. But if I keep it at 0, if it has set at 0, it has set car and Maruti, every time it is 0 it will say the same word. So that ensure that when you're building some workflows or some systems, how do you control that accuracy? Yeah. Now coming to the step 3 again, if you see, this again is the same, literally the same API. Here we have not even changed some parameters or any fundamental differences. We just have changed the system prompt, right? So I've added this data at the end, always respond in HTML formatted data. So now whenever the API would respond, it will have the general message that, hi champ, I am Udayam, but that data will be HTML formatted, right? And why we have this step here is because in early days, people would prompt the AI to respond in a certain format, because they will use the response to build automations. Now you have to write, say you are a blog writer, right? And you always want HTML formatted data. You go to ChatGPT, at first you do English, then you tell it, "Hey, please format this data in HTML," right? So now you want to build an automation where there's an API. It whenever every day Google search sends 3 keywords, based on those 3 keywords, it generates a blog. So you want to be sure that it's HTML formatted. But again, this if you do this in the system prompt, sometimes it will add since it is system prompt, sometimes it will always do the HTML formatting, but sometimes what will happen, before the formatting or after the formatting, it might add a greeting or how can I help you, because they have tuned the models to work as assistants. That's why it's more commonly known as a chat. But I would say it is again just a simulation of API calls, where I'm appending certain tokens and the API call is going to predict the next share of tokens, right? To solve this problem, what these people did. So now you will see, again we will come to the same API and you'll see a subtle difference. Yeah, just give me a second. Yeah, right. So this is the same API, but this time we have added another parameter. So this parameter was created by these uh, companies, because they want these APIs to be used by businesses for predictable flows and automations and services. That's how they can scale, right? Because like if I build some automation today and every day it is answering a different value or a different calculation, then I can't use it as a business, or I can't reliably use it every day, and I can't scale that automated system. So this tool thing, they added to ensure that when once they saw that people are asking in the system prompt, respond like this, respond like that. And why people are asking it, they figure out because they are trying to build automations further. They want to automate their blog writing, or automate their LinkedIn post writing, or automate their tweet writing. It can be anything. It can be automating, analyzing the business data or reports. So tool is again a type of system prompt, but it is a structured system prompt. So now this is a tool. Again, it looks like some code, but this is literally English. And it as you already know, the LLM cannot differentiate between structure or code. It reads everything as a string of tokens, right? Only tokens. So it does not know, but they have trained the model that if it sees the tokens in this format, it will behave and ensure that it responds like that. So what this tool ensures that, I've given a name, so I have to be as descriptive as possible, because this also works as a system prompt. The description is, this is a tool where Udayan greets new GrowthX members, and he tells them who should join, why should they join GrowthX, in a structured way. And maybe Udayan wants to automate introductory messages in different formats. And then this tool can have properties. The first thing is greeting, that Udayan will respond. The first thing Udayan will say will be a greeting, and the greeting will be a string. A string is basically a character, or you can say a single sentence, or maybe a paragraph, but just a single sentence. It will not be in any other format. So the description is, this greeting will be a string, and I'm just written my prompt again. This will be a greeting message from Udayan. That's all, nothing more. Right. The second property will be about GrowthX, and it should always be second. The first thing will be the greeting. Second thing will be about GrowthX, and it will say brief information about GrowthX. Right. Then the third thing will be, what does GrowthX do? Now, if you see, there is a certain difference here. This time it will not be a string, it will be an array. Array is basically a list of items, right? It can be your bullet points, a list of anything, and you can have different use cases of arrays. Maybe you want a list of numbers, you want a list of cities, a list of car names, right? So this here, to keep it very simple, a list of things what GrowthX does, always in that format, because Udayan maybe wants to send a WhatsApp message, and he wants to keep that format, and he wants to ensure that every time AI does that, it is a list, because he does not want this template to break, because that's how WhatsApp would work or Slack would work, or even an email template, because you would want data in a certain format, right? Then next thing, again, the fourth part should be, why should you join GrowthX? A list. Who should join GrowthX? A list of people who should join GrowthX. It will again respond in a list. Then why join GrowthX, right? Here again a list, but here I've added another little change. Since this part also works like a prompt, so this is a list of reasons to join GrowthX in a way Yoda would say it. So now when you will run this function, everything will be in normal English. But why join GrowthX will be a list of, it will follow everything, but this instruction also it will follow. The list would be in a language how Yoda would pronounce it, right? So that was literally the first level. This is the same API, nothing has changed. You don't have to learn any other API. Within the API, there are parameters, and you can just increase those parameters. So first we had no parameters. Then we introduce a system message. Then we introduce a list of tools. Now we'll go to the next part. Yeah. Okay, so now the next part is how we can use what we learned in the first level to actually solve a business problem. Okay. So if you see, again, this same API, there is nothing more to see in the whole code, anywhere in the code. It just says, send, client create message, model, token, temperature, system prompt, the list of messages, your user message or the assistant message, and your list of tools. Now you are allowed to pass a bunch of tools together. Now what this function does, and what the business problem here was, that there's a list of there's a bunch of 500 skills where some company wants to conduct online interviews, and they have shortlisted a platform to conduct online interviews, but they are non-technical people, they are business people who want to conduct the interviews, and they don't actually know that is that skill testable online or not within the constraint of the platform. For example, you put in an online coding platform, but lead code cannot run AI models. Lead code cannot run your data logics or business logics or multiple other things, right? So now what they did is this is your system prompt. If this is you're an AI expert, your primary goal is to to determine that this discipline micro skill XYZ is a variable value which is inserted, which you can see in this input data. This is the input data, which you can also utilize. This is the discipline. This is the mega skill that discipline belongs in. This is the micro skill, and we want to know that can we test it based on these constraints, that this is our current system, this is the front end, this is the back end, and these are the constraints, and this is your task. Now obviously you will send this message, you'll get a response. But once you want to run this script with internet search, and you want to run this script, that is a small data set. If you see the large data set, it is very large. So you have to use this API in a loop multiple times. So that becomes one workflow or a AI automation or an AI function. I would not say a agent or a sub agent or a chat system. It is just an API call with one data point happening over and over again for that list of items. This API call will happen to 50 times, 100 times, 1,000 times, as many times as you want, based on a certain further logic or script that you can write. As in, you don't have to write everything. Would be, even if you practice, you can use cursor or cloud code. Even if you open this code base, if you ask cursor to run it for you, it will run it for you. You don't even have to run. You can just tell run it for you. It will run it for you, right? Now, so here we have that's why we have defined a tool that return your analysis result. So now I am a product manager who is running this analysis for my business team, and I want to share them in a CSV file, and I can't get a chat GPT message and keep formatting 1,000 messages and keep putting them in one file, right? So I have told it that this is how you will respond. You will tell me first tell me the name, the mega skill name, micro skill name, what kind of assessments does it require an online assessment, yes or no? If it can happen in our current system, yes or no? And then what kind of technical assessments are required if the other parts are yes, that maybe there is a Python exam, there is a algorithmic exam, there can be multiple kind of exams, and for each assessment type what kind of infra is needed, right? If we are not able to assess that platform, assess that skill, why are we not able to assess it, and what is the system or a platform that is required for us to actually assess it, right? And I've told it that these values are always required. So whenever I run the script, it will always give me that data, right? So now for a business, what happens at this scale is that if I have to assess these 500 skills, and I'm a product manager who does not know about artificial intelligence, and there are 20 artificial intelligence interviews that we have to do. So there are two ways I can do this. Either I can find people who are very smart in those fields and spend 6 months discussing the process with everyone, or I can spend 5-10 days researching about every platform, every skill, how it is assessed, and then build a report. But if I build this automation, I can do it in 2 to 8 hours, depending upon how much data I have to crunch. If I have 10,000 rows, maybe it will take a day, but still I will get validated data. But now people would say that how are you sure that the data is correct, right? How do you cite that data? What are the facts behind it? The LLM told you, you don't know yourself. So now what you can do further. So this step 6 is just the evolution of the validation. It's the same function, same program, same skill. There is nothing different, but we have added another tool, which is called web search. Now, the AI has access to search the web for the data that it is giving us, right? So now, whenever it will return its results, it will also return citation links. That this is, Amazon's website. This is how they do the analysis interview. That's why I mentioned this data. So now, even if my business team or anyone needs to verify that, they can cite that data. Now, if you would say, will you check every link or everything? So if I'm doing 1,000 data points I'm analyzing, I would randomly do some samples. I'll check 20, 30, 40 on a random distances, and if all of them are right, I can assume everything else is right, because websites are there, data is there. You can even, there are further configurations that you can do, but we'll not go in that level right now. You can allow what kind of domains, only search from code forces, or only search from Amazon because you only trust that data. So every configuration you can think of is available to build that assurity and build that guarantee. So now since you're using this as a tool and you have asked in other tools citations is required, so it will always give you citations, and it will be a comma separator of URLs from which it has filled all this data for you. So now you are sure that your automation works, and this fundamentally would cost not more than to analyze 1,000 skill will not cost more than $50. But if you see the actual business cost of this would be anywhere between 5,000, 10,000 to even above that value, because there would be people actually analyzing and spending time, a lot of time to kind of figure this out, right? So at this point, anyone has any doubts or any questions? Cool. Yeah. Can you guys give me a couple of minutes? I have to just get a water bottle. Yeah. Hi. Yeah, sorry for that. Right. So that is what we learned in the first session. Now just quickly going over to the second session. In the second session, we started with this fundamental level 3, where we moved from simple AI functions and calling the API again and again to building a chat logic. How a chat GPT or a cloud chat or a Gemini or any other perplexity would work. So now how a chat would work is, again, yeah, this is again the same API call, but this time what we would do is to build that simulation. With every message I send, I'll get a response, right? If I have to build that simulation, I can do the API call again. Now when I do the API call again, I will include the list of my previous messages, right? So now it becomes a chat. So you are sending one message, you are receiving one response, you are building that list, then you are sending the next message, you are receiving a response, and that keeps on happening. That's why you run into problems like the token cost or context limits. That's where you start building other kind of systems, compacting the chat or a RAG search or a system memory. There are multiple ways to solve that, and in most cases it is not even required to solve. But whenever required, there are a few. I would not say few, a bunch of ways to kind of go beyond those limitations, right? So yeah, so this is a basic chat flow. Then again, the second part of the chat would be a chat with tools. So which becomes a small AI agent. I would say a very basic level of AI agent where it can run a simulation, and whenever required, it can use a tool. And now tools can be used for multiple things to get structured data. And once you're getting structured data, what you can do is you can use that structured data and utilize to do some third-party API call. Because whenever you're doing an API call, for example, in a step one, this is an API call. This API call requires this data. So if I have to do this API call, I can literally give it a tool to respond with to me in this structure itself. So I can use that data itself to again make this API call, or any third party API call to get a whether crypto price or uh, inserting a blog, whatever you can kind of think of, whatever API is available, you can make that call because you have that structured response every time. You can just tell that we need these parameters. It will respond with that data, and you can kind of connect your AI system to that API call. Yeah, I'm audible, right?
Yes.
So with these small steps every time, we came finally to the level 4, where we went through three kind of systems. One, there was a simple block automation with which would run without any UI, right? Because like what the fundamental blocker for a lot of people is that you don't see a screen to interact, or you don't see a UI, so it feels like nothing is actually happening. But whatever is happening is actually happening at the backend. You are just sending that send message or triggering that signal from the UI, nothing more. Everything is happening right here in a server in the background, which is getting the response, and that data is visible to you then, right? So we built three parts to this. We built one simple bot automation script. If you see the backend script for this, it is a one-page script, and in that one-page script, so I'll go through this part in detail. Yeah. Again, in that one-page script, the most important thing is that same API call, that same 6 sentences, 6 lines of code, which handles and controls literally everything. This just 30 minutes ago was just sending me hello, but within 4 steps or 5 steps of evolution, this same thing is going to figure out what are the best keywords for a category of business, or what is a brand about, right? It will figure out what content is already present on their website. Then it will write a blog, it will insert citations, it will insert links into the citations, it will format that blog, it will generate images, and then it will also publish the blog on a real website at real time. And this again is happening with the same API and 6 lines of code, same parameters. It's just that we have passed a bunch of tools here, and we have passed a bunch of ways that we manage those tools, right? So now we'll go to the tools here, so you will understand how things are happening. So yeah, so this is the list of all tools. If you see, so there is a web search, and we have told it you can do a website search 10 times plus these more tools. The first tool is called image generator. So now this actually uses the Google's nano banana service. So for example, Google also has that 6 lines of code that you give a prompt, what image you want, how many images you want, what is the size of image you want, right? So now if you would see this image generator tool, it has certain properties like the first Udayan tool had. So it has a prompt. Okay, this is the prompt, and I have given the description, because tool again for me when I using the LLM API is nothing more than a system message, but a structured system message. So it has given a description. It describe the image in a natural language. Uh, these are do's, these are don'ts. This is the example, and I require the prompt from you. So now the main AI chat would call this tool whenever it needs to generate an image. So because that main AI has this tool available, it will respond. That it's called tool calling, or using a tool. So it will respond in a certain way that I want to use the image generator tool, and it will give me this data. So now LLMs can't themselves do the API call, or work or go to the internet. So they tell the developer or the team or whoever is managing or controlling that LLM that they want to use this tool. Now it is on my end that what I do and how I execute this tool. Yeah, so the first tool was image generator. The second tool is an image uploader. Why an image uploader? Because a blog would have to have an image link which is publicly available on some server, or some CDN network anywhere. So that image needs to be uploaded. Then there is a tool which actually creates the blog. Okay, it has properties: the title of the blog, the slug of the blog, meta title, description, content, the featured image. This is the image link. So now this tool requires an image link. So now the AI knows it requires an image link. So first it will generate the image, then it will upload the image, and then insert the image link here. Now this is the last tool, which is the blog inserter. This is for publishing that blog into the CMS system, because that is the task it has been given, that you have to create a blog on certain conditions and then finally insert it. This is where this is where the developers part would, I would say, come in, which again you don't have to actually write the code. Any AI tool or Codex, Gemini, anyone can do that for you. This is handling and executing the tool calls. So whenever the LLM tells me I want to use this tool, that tool, so I will manage the service. So whenever the AI says image generator, I will sorry yeah I will call this image generator function, which I have here, which is again a similar API call, but this time it is to Google Gemini. That client Google Gemini gave the model. This is the prompt which was passed from the Claude AI. Claude generated the prompt. We gave the prompt to Gemini, and Gemini gave us the image. This is, if you see Google Gemini's API call, it is of the same structure, same method. That's why, as I'm mentioning, there is only one API call, and it is common across all LLM providers. Only things that change are the parameters. Sometimes it is a message, sometimes it is an image, sometimes it is a text or a audio, but or a video, and there is nothing more than that. And it is always of the same structure and it will remain of the same structure because otherwise, how would people standardize and build services across these systems? Or even if they want to switch, if it is not common, I can't switch from Cloud to OpenAI or Gemini to Cloud. So that's why everyone keeps that standard. So that was AI API call. Now, if I come back the tool executors, yeah. For example, now I would say a blog inserter. So now this is not a API call, an AI API call, but again, this is a tool execution. But this time I am inserting the blog into Supabase. So I have written a simple code from my end. It's a simple API call to Supabase, which again you don't have to write. Anyone does not need to write these simple API calls. And this is the data that the blog tool had passed when the tool was called, and this returns a message to the AI that your blog has been successfully inserted. So that the AI, when you're building a chain of messages in loop, it always contains that context, because then only then it knows, okay, I don't need to generate the next blog or a new blog, or maybe it was given a task of generating 3 blogs. So it'll keep a count. One has been inserted. Now I'll work on the next one. Yeah, so that's how a simple blog automation script works. So now if I have to convert it into a UI or an app for production deployment, for selling as a SaaS, that same amount of code changes into a bunch of code, because you need to have a front end, you need to have a back end, and then you need to have a server that they talk. Because once you are giving an input from the front end, so this input needs to travel, and this input needs to go to that particular script, and it basically kind of needs to press that button here, right? So to execute that part, you have to build this whole layer of servers, web apps or apps, or different kind of mobile apps, which now depends on your use case. If you are building something for a personal use or some personal automation, most of the time the script is fine. It looks scary, but it is very small. The same thing when you build an app, a one-page logic will go into 4 or 5 folders, and the same thing will happen just across different methods and ways, because it has to be done through a UI or through a different system. Yeah, and again on the same concept, we have a simple presentation builder, which has a bunch of agents now. So now I would say this is a AI agent or a AI product or a AI tool. So it has a main chat service, which again is that 6 lines of API calls, which is there, right? And this time the main chat has a bunch of tools, but these tools themselves are again AI services, right? So now the main chat calls a generate PPT tool, and this is how it calls the generate PPT tool. And if you go to a tool executor, sorry, yeah, this is a generate PPT tool. This again is the same API call. The same parameters were passed. That system prompt was there. There was a message. Then there was certain self messages and data that was passed to this. Now this generation tool has its own bunch of tools. It has another 6 levels of tools that someone was talking to me in ChatGPT in our chat browser when I work on ChatGPT or Cloud, and they do a deep research for you, right? Now when you build your chat messages, it has a context problem that if it itself does all the tool use tool result tool use tool result and all that data across 25 links and to build you one page of document, thousands, millions of tokens get consumed, and that is not required. It only needs to know that you want this task and it will get it done for you, and this is the result. So you can pass the task, you can pass the task to some other AI agent, which is this generate PPT tool agent. Now again, for this agent there are a bunch of tools, simple tools. Some are AI tools, some are simple executions. One tool is like creating a folder, one tool is reading a file, one tool is updating a file, then listing a file, okay, how many files are done, and then a tool that to return data to your main chat as a message that okay, the task is done and these are the results. Now since I have those results, I can respond to the human that this is your PPT link and I have generated this PPT. If you need any other editing or any other service, let me know. So if you tell I need any editing, it will come back to this PPT agent. It will tell it that this PPT requires this editing. Then this PPT agent will start working again and again return certain data. That's how these agent or tool simulations kind of work, right? So this is what we learned till level 4, from making one API call with tools, API call with tools and internet, converting that API call into a list of chat messages with tools, then automating that list of chat messages with other AI agents so that it works itself till the task is completed. Now we'll come to the current Notebook LM clone. So this Notebook LM clone has a backend service. It has a front-end service. We'll go one by one. In backend, you have these are the core. This is the core logic that is there, and I have divided and kept it in very simple ways so that everyone can understand where an AI agent is used, where a simple AI service is used, and when there are integrations, where are tool executions when we are executing a tool. Then within data you would have all the list of your prompts. This is the add creative prompt, audio generator prompt, CSV analyzer prompt, different kind of prompts for every different kind of task, right? So yeah, so at this moment, if anyone has any questions, just let me know, and then we will continue to this interface now. So we'll go through services and we will see how that works in the backend here. Right. Yeah, so if no one has any questions, we'll just take a quick 4-5 minute break and we'll continue at 12. From 12 to 1, we'll understand this whole system with every service working on the same API. It's just that there are a bunch of service now working together, and logically everything is that one single API call in one certain method, and we are just putting those puzzle pieces together and passing context from here to there to ensure that this whole system kind of works together as a SaaS product or a more useful tool than just saying hello and getting a response to that hello.
ना देखे ऐसे कैसे मेरी जाना, ये सारी बातें जो अधूरी सी रखी थी, सुन रहा है अब जमाना। आंखों खुलते याद तेरा आना, ये कैसा माजरा है जाना, अदाएं तेरी वो जो दिल को छू गई थी, कभी ना कुछ भी मैं कहा ना, कभी ना कुछ भी मैं कहा ना, कभी ना कुछ भी मैं कहा ना, लबों पे मेरे ये कहानी दास्ता तो है पुरानी, साथ हम रहेंगे ये उम्मीद करके बैठे थे, दवा के इस पहाड़ में बजा रहा गिटार में, मुंह मोड़ के जो तू मुझसे है यूं चली, मिल गया मुझे बहाना, ये सारी बातें जो अधूरी सी रखी थी, सुन रहा है अब ज़माना, सुनेगा अब ये ज़माना, सुनेगा अब ये ज़माना, सुनेगा सुनेगा अब ये ज़माना।
मेरी फटदी किसे तो नहीं, मैं करदा वां मूंह ते सिद्धी गल गल गल, मेरी बनदी किसे ना नहीं, ताइयों ते मैं तो करन नफरत, मेरी बन गई पहचान वा कि मैं मतलबी इंसान वा, हाँ मैं करदा कबूल ते शांति विच जीना बस इको ही असूल वे, हत्थ जोड़े तुहाडे अगे छड्डो मैनू कल्ला, पहाड़ां च मैं तारेआं दी चद्दर लैके सुत्ता, वधिया से सुपने ते उठना दमन नहीं करदा, ऐदां नहीं सरना, मैं क्यों लड़ा, मैं क्यों सड़ा, मैं क्यों डरा, फसिया मैं होया जज्बातां दे जाल च, मैनू लगदा कि मरना वे पैना, मैनू जीण दे लई, जीण दे लई, सीन दे लई, सीन दे लई, अमीन दे लई, अमीन दे लई, मेरी आत्मा ते लिखिया होया कि रहना अमर मैं, मैनू लगदा कि मरना वे पैना, मैनू जीण दे लई, जीण दे लई, सीन दे लई, सीन दे लई, अमीन दे लई, अमीन दे लई, मेरी आत्मा ते लिखिया होया कि रहना अमर मैं, इस दुनिया च पहला परिवार मेरा, दूजी मेरी नींद मैनू प्यारी, तीजा मेरा काम नाले, चौथी मेरी मौत जिदी करा मैं तैयारी, दूंगा मेरे पाप दा विकड़ा, शैतान नाल यारी, रब नाल वैर वे ते वैरियां दी खैर नी, याद ओ दोपहर भी खाण नू नी रोटी, अज दी गल हर शाम वड्डा बोटी, जेड़े औखे वेले नाल सी, भुल्लां चुका हुईयां मेरे तो मैं मंगा माफी, मैं फोकियां भी मारी, हो गया मैं वड्डा हुण लैना जिम्मेदारी, बहुते इत्थे घट दिलों बोलदे ने सच, देख के अनदेखा करदे ने मेरा काम, अंदरों दी पता के मैं आने वाला कल, देखदा मैं सब कोई नहीं खड़ा मेरे वल, मैं क्यों लड़ा, मैं क्यों सड़ा, मैं क्यों डरा फसिया मैं होया जज्बातां दे जाल च ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਕਿ ਮਰਨਾ ਵੇ ਪੈਣਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਜੀਣ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਸੀਨ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਅਮੀਨ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਮੇਰੀ ਆਤਮਾ ਤੇ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਕਿ ਰਹਿਣਾ ਅਮਰ ਮੈਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਕਿ ਮਰਨਾ ਵੇ ਪੈਣਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਜੀਣ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਸੀਨ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਅਮੀਨ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਮੇਰੀ ਆਤਮਾ ਤੇ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਕਿ ਰਹਿਣਾ ਅਮਰ ਮੈਂ ਮੇਰੇ ਵਰਗਾ ਕੋਈ ਦੂਜਾ ਖੜਾ ਕਰਨਾ ਵੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਨਾ ਸੌਖਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਵੇਖ ਲੋ ਵੇ ਥਾਂ ਮੇਰੀ ਕਦੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਮੈਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਰੋਕਿਆ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਦੇ ਤੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਹੋਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਸਾਵੇਂ ਨੰਬਰ 1 ਤੇ ਸੁੱਤੇ ਨੀਂਦ ਵਿੱਚ ਗੀਤ ਕਿੰਨੇ ਲਿਖਦੇ ਗੱਡੀ ਵੱਜੇ ਸੋਤੇ ਪਰ ਸਿਰ ਬਾਹਰ ਨਿਕਲੇ ਸ਼ੈਤਾਨ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਸਵੇਰੇ ਗੁਰਦਾਰੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਦਿਖਦੇ ਬੇੜਾ ਗਰਕ ਹੋ ਜੇ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਨਜ਼ਰ ਨਾ ਲਾਓ ਕਰੋ ਮਿਹਰਬਾਨੀ ਜ਼ਰਾ ਜਰਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਖਾਓ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਣੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਨਸ਼ੇ ਤੋਂ ਬਚਾਓ ਫਿਰ ਕਿਸੇ ਹੋਰ ਬਾਰੇ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਵੇ ਬਣਾਓ ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸਰਦਾਰਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਉਹ ਭੇਦ ਪਾਓ ਤਾਈਓ ਪਾਪੇ ਜੱਟਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਚਪੇੜ ਖਾਣ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਤੇਲ ਪਾਓ ਨੱਚੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਜਾਤ ਦੇ ਨਾਮ ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਮੇਰੇ ਕੋਲੋਂ ਬਚ ਤੂੰ मैं अगवा मैं सचवा पे अदा नहीं मारा जमा इरादा वा पक्का मेरा मिला दांगा 84 ਨੂੰ इंसाफ नाल कर वड़ मार काट अंदाज नहीं हो मेरा मैं क्यों लड़ा मैं क्यों सड़ा मैं क्यों डरा फसिया मैं होया जज्बातां दे जाल च ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਕਿ ਮਰਨਾ ਵੇ ਪੈਣਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਜੀਣ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਸੀਨ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਅਮੀਨ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਮੇਰੀ ਆਤਮਾ ਤੇ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਕਿ ਰਹਿਣਾ ਅਮਰ ਮੈਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਕਿ ਮਰਨਾ ਵੇ ਪੈਣਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਜੀਣ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਸੀਨ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਅਮੀਨ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਮੇਰੀ ਆਤਮਾ ਤੇ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਕਿ ਰਹਿਣਾ ਅਮਰ ਮੈਂ ਨਵੇਂ ਲੋਕ ਨਵਾਂ ਜੋਸ਼ ਨਵੀਂ ਸ਼ੌਹਰਤ ਕਰਦਾ ਦਿਮਾਗ ਦੇ ਸ਼ੈਤਾਨ ਨਾਲ ਛੇੜਛਾੜ ਆਪੇ ਪਛਤਾਉਣ ਕਹਿਣ ਭਾਜੀ ਪੁਰਾਣੀ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਤੇ ਮਿੱਟੀ ਪਾਓ
So let's start. How do I move this around? And does anyone know how to move this around? I have not used Human a lot. Yeah. So yeah. So is everyone here? Just a quick checkup. If a couple of you can kind of just respond or do some emojis or something. I'll be here. Cool. Right. So we'll go through this product. We'll go through how you can also set this up after this session in a couple of hours. You'll have access to this code base, the same app, and how this works. So the first thing you'll have to do is just come inside and open any terminal and open this folder. Just open this folder called local mine, and this has two folders, and these are two separate backend and front end servers that run. I'll just close everything else. Yeah. So this is my folders, and here are my terminals. I can just open a terminal in almost every IDE. It works like that. So one terminal for the backend and one for the front end. There's as in if you don't have to do it yourself, there will be a README file. You can tell your AI tool to run this for you. So all you have to do is run one command to install requirements, and once after you have done that, you don't have to set up any API key, nothing in the code base. You don't have to do anything. Just to run it once, you have to come here in the backend, write flask run, and in the front end you have to write npm run dev, which again all these commands will be available in a README file, a file that would kind of look like not look like this. I would say literally like a a text file, which will have your list of commands. That this is the command you have to run, and just to start this. So you have to run 2 commands. Or once those commands have run, you will see the backend has been initialized and the front end has been initialized, and then you are on this app. So once you are on this app, the first step you'll have to do is would be entering your API keys. Right? There are 2 API keys minimum required to run this. One is your Anthropic API key. Another would be your 11 Labs API key for your audio processing or dictation. And then there would be if you have to upload larger files and larger folders and larger data, it has to be turn into embeddings for your what people say RAG search or semantic search. So for that we are using OpenAI. This again, 11 Labs is free for a good amount of usage. OpenAI's embeddings is also free for a good amount of usage. Your Pinecone, where your data is stored, is also free for a good amount of usage. Tably AI, this is also free. Google Client is also free. Google Secret is this is also free. This is your for you to connect a drive. Even if you need to connect your drive, if you don't need to enter this. Except Anthropic, there is no other API cost that you actually have to pay to use all the functionalities of this app as well, right? Once you're in the app, you can create a new project. You can just name your project, I would say, I created a project, right? So as soon as I come into my project, I have my interface. On the left side, I have sources, which is the sources of all the data which I can talk with or interact with or take actions on to build further elements. And it can be any amount of data. So by default, as in if you want to configure it to 1,000 files, there is no size limit. You can upload 100 sources, and now they will start by uploading sources here. There is nothing else, but only one thing is there, the user memory, right? So I already have a project. So user memory by default is stored across projects. So this project has no memory, only a user memory. That are your personal preferences. If I tell it you always talk in Hindi, it will store automatically in the background, store that as a memory to ensure every time it talks to me in Hindi, right? Now we'll start by uploading a source and how this source uploading and this whole functionality works. So you see there are a bunch of things here, right? So what I will do is first I'll upload, say, yeah, I'll upload a PDF file of 450 pages. So this is a book, written by someone, one of my old CTOs, Subhash. So this is a 450 page file, and how a PDF file is read by AI is not how you would assume that like I can read a PDF file. In the end, everything that goes to an LLM endpoint always gets converted to tokens, no matter if it is a video or it is an audio, it is a text file, it is a PPT file, whatever it might be. In the end, it has to be text. So now when you have a PDF file, so with PDF file, there are certain ways to convert it to a text file. There are OCR techniques, which is, scripts which extract the text. Then there are simple AI functions itself that you can ask AI to parse that PDF file for you, right? So, and extract the textual data. And if you can see the processes here, right? The file has been completely processed. Now it is embedding. Since it is a 450 page file, I can't pass that in my message because my message has a token limit of 200,000 tokens at max. And if I start passing that message, every API call will become $2 or $3 or maybe even higher, right? And that's why we kind of, to include a lot of context, we do RAG or chunk files as text files. RAG is also not mandatory every time, and I'll show you why. And this system works on both the cases. Now I have my sources uploaded. I can start a chat. So whenever I start a chat, you will see this icon, that 1/1 active source. So that means this chat has context of your file. If I disable this, it will go 0. That you have sources, but this chat right now does not have a context. And if you remove this file, same thing, it will get deleted. and then it'll get deleted itself, and all the embeddings, all the raw data behind this file will also get deleted. Now I'll just go in the background for in the sense what happened with this file, because all the data is stored locally, so you will be able to see what is actually happening. And so all the database, there is no database connection needed. Everything happens in your PC. So there will be a projects folder, right? So whenever you create a new project, it will be mentioned that this was the project name, right? This is the demo, the description, and this is the project ID. So if you see this project ID, you can see here is the project ID. So all the data for a particular project will be in its folder. Now, whatever I'm uploading was my sources. So I had my sources. So whenever I upload a file, the raw file gets uploaded instantly. This is the raw PDF. This is 340 pages, right? And then this is the processed PDF. This is the PDF file into a single text file, because text files can be long and singular. But if you see the number of tokens that one file has, 80,000. So with every API call and every new message, because I keep appending messages, that means every time it will become 80,000, 80,000, 80,000. That becomes 240,000 by the third message, right? By the third message, my context limit is over. The API will give me error, so I can't actually use this file. Now, to use this file, what you would do is fundamentally you will make chunks of this file. So that's it. That is why there is a folder called chunks. So with the file ID, whatever file gets chunked. So suppose you upload, say, only this much. That is not required to convert into a chunk, because I can pass it to the AI at a complete level, because it doesn't take a lot of tokens. But I can't pass the file, so you would create chunks, because even if you keep large pages of file, it's still hard to search or embed it. So there are certain various methods that you should have embeddings of 300 tokens, 400 tokens, 1000 tokens, and even if you don't want embeddings, you can have chunks, because if suppose I just do a keyword search, I can do a keyword search in some cases if the file is of factual data, factual terminologies, suppose someone's name is in there, right? So I can do a keyword search. But if I do a keyword search and in this text file the keyword is on page 270, how do I return this whole page, right? So that's why you would create chunks. So now if the keyword is present in this chunk, you just have to share this much amount of text. But chunking is good for embedding as well. So that's how every kind of file gets processed. Every large file, any small file will get converted to text, either be it image, either be it whatever you can think of, will get converted to text and then only be sent. And even if you send it directly, that someone like Google Gemini takes images, but in the end Google Gemini would also create encodings of that image and only then understand it in tokens. So there is no difference there, right? So now I'll come back here. So now embeddings of this file has been created. When the file is active, so what we do is that, first of all, you'll see if you click on project settings, so this is your system prompt. So whatever I was showing you in the code, in the parameters, right? So this is my current system prompt. These are the guidelines for my system prompt on how to talk, what to keep in mind. Except this part of the system prompt, there is a small service. And why is that important? We'll come to it. So there is a service called context loader, right? So whenever a file is chunked and uploaded, we automatically in the background create a small summary of that file and create the file ID, right? So that the AI is aware it has access to a file which has a certain summary, and that is the ID of the file. Now, if I show you that part of the data, yeah. So that part this is like a database. This is the file ID, the general data of the file, nothing else, and this is the summary info, right? This is the summary that this file is by someone, Subhash Chaudhary, etc., etc. And this summary is only 220 tokens. And so since my context limit is 200,000 tokens, it's okay that I utilize 220 tokens. With this 220 tokens, the AI has access to the file ID. Now, since it has access to the file ID and it has a summary of the file, it becomes contextually very aware that, okay, now if someone would ask me about something, I know where to go. If the user is asking me a question about the CTO or a system design book, how we create the summary is also a logic, because how would I analyze a 350 page PDF to summarize it? So since AI can predict data, what you would do is you would create a simple logic that we have to create a summary of I can only utilize 2000 tokens in an API call to generate a summary of 220 tokens. Now the file size is 10,000 tokens or 20,000 tokens. So I'll equally divide and I'll pick up 10 chunks on regular intervals. The first chunk, the last chunk, and maybe 8 chunks at regular intervals across the file. And I'll send that chunks to some AI and I'll tell you this was a file which was this big, but I'm only able to send you these chunks. Please create a summary of this. And if you see the summary, it is very factually correct. It is a book by Subhash, who was the CTO of Dukan. It's his journey from scaling to millions of stores. Yes, Ankita.
Neil just had one quick question. So, how do we determine that this should be the ideal input tokens and output tokens? Like, how did we come to that?
So that totally depends on what kind of optimizations or use cases that you have. Say you are running a small support bot and you have documents. You have 20 help documents, only 20 help documents, and every document is say 1,000 tokens. So you actually, in most cases, you don't even need to create chunks. You keep 20 documents and you create like a 2-paragraph metadata and just pass that metadata to your system prompt. Now, whenever someone is asking a query, the system prompt will ask you, okay, I need this file. You pass the whole file, and you pass the whole file. AI will read the context and reply to your support user. But now, suppose you have thousands of support document, and every document is of 10, 15 pages. Then, how do you manage that? How do you keep so much metadata? How do you keep because then that means that you have a lot of people coming to your platform also, right? A lot of people coming to your platform, talking to your bot every day. So every day you can't keep sending multiple pages because the cost of users will become very high. So there are levels of optimizations and there are give and takes depending on every use case. But there is a general thumb rule that a chunk file should be say anywhere between 400-500 tokens to somewhere 700-800 tokens because if you increase longer than that and you have to say you have to make citations of data, then it becomes a problem because you will pass I am asking one question which has an answer in 2 lines, but I by default always pass at least 20 lines of data. So whenever there is a citation, it will show within this 20 lines. Then you have a UX problem. I have to highlight these are the lines. Now how do you highlight that? So for that you have to create a system that you mark every line and you tell AI every time, okay, these are the line numbers you are going to be citing. So always tell the line number, right? So then you have to build a system around that. So it's all about the effort and efficiency you want. You can create bigger files with better indexing systems for your citation data because it's in the end, whenever you're doing RAG, you need citations. Where is this data coming from? And if you need those citations, it is better to keep chunks smaller because I never pass the whole page. And I'll come to that logic now. Right? So this summary is available to my chat. Right? So what I'll do is now I'll add another source. Right? So I'll do a YouTube video. This is literally it. This the part I'm highlighting. So I can give a YouTube video link and it will only take transcripts. If you want a video analysis, that can also be done. If you go to Google Notebook LLM, they also do, if you say YouTube, right, they'll only do transcripts because from the transcript, 80 to 90% of the video is already understandable unless it is a animation or something which where no one is speaking. Right, so same with the YouTube video, it is even faster. This YouTube video is again getting embedded because it is a 2-hour long video. So that 2-hour long video would have a fairly large transcript. Yeah. So it's when I added the link, right? So this is the metadata of my text file. It has 52,000 tokens, right? If you see the transcript of the YouTube video, this is all the data. Now this is another PDF file of 400 pages. This YouTube video also has a lot of chunks now, right? And if you see this value now in real time, whenever a file is ready to process and active, that means the summary of the file and file ID is available to my AI chat. So now I will ask a question. I'll start with a simple question. So I'm not implemented your streaming here, that is like, in real time data gets streamed. That is more of a text solution than not a editing problem. It's now it knows my name because it has the user memory. I never told it my name because the system has the context of my name. Uh, Whether you want to upload some, work through some materials, it knows what it has materials, and I can ask it now. So I'll ask, who is Atul Dubey? So I know this guy because he is mentioned in Subhash's book. He is mentioned on a certain page number, and I want to know. Okay, yeah, change the prompt little. Yeah, so it is asking me, and I added little prompts for the studio service to clarify any questions. So I will give a contextual part. I think he is an engineer. Maybe if I'm researching data, if I don't know all the data. Yeah, so now I've given it prompts. Okay, it'll ask me what data I want to search, because since I activated the studio, but if I say deactivated, now it is not active. If I ask the same question, it'll search. But I'll tell you, okay, yeah, maybe, but I want to know what all responsibilities he had. Now this is not a query based search. I'm just asking you. I want to know what all responsibilities he had. So at this time, I'm sure it will start. It'll start searching because I mentioned book. Yeah. So now if you see, it has come back with the response, and it has citations. So if you see the citations, so this particular citation has mentioned Atul Dubey, VP of Engineering at Dukan. If you see the answer, yeah, I searched the book. Based on the book, Atul Dubey was VP of Engineering at Dukan. His primary achievement was this, and every citation is there, and it says at page 335. Now this is not the whole page. This is only a chunk of that particular part of the page. Now what happens is, when I do vector search or even a keyword search, say I'm doing a keyword search, and if you search for Atul Dubey, you will be able to find him on multiple pages, but those pages are large. So, but since you have created chunks, you can find them on those smaller chunks as well directly, and that is helpful in both cases. If you're doing a vector search, and if you're doing a keyword search, in both cases you can find it, but the search methodology would work on your use case. Now if you are sure it is a keyword search, you can do. Okay, so now I'll talk about what did I teach in my sessions. I mean, the thought process about how to learn. Now I said, what did I teach in my session? It knows I'm talking about myself, in this case me. Now again, since it is taking time, it is doing searches. So now this can't be a keyword search because there is no specific keyword you can search for. You get a lot of results: teach, session, mean, I, thought, process, right? So in this case, it will semantically search data. Now at this time, to build this data, uh, it can search 5 sources, it can search 10 sources. I obviously I kept a limit that only these amount of sources. But now if you see, this is the data that it got. Problem first, non-technology, dynamically reduced your learning curve, because everyone, I just zoom in a little, yeah, which I'm teaching in this session also, because all you have to start is start learning from one API. And if I click on the source, this is on section 40, this is section 44, and the mention is here, learning one API, and it is citing the exact particular data every time. And if you do an Indian constitution, anything here, you will find the same stuff, the same level of citation. So this is how a rack search would work, or a keyword search would work. Now in our current search logic. So now suppose I'll give a smaller file, right? So I'll give, Include a image. So now this image file can be large or small depending upon how the AI analyzes it. Because again, AI can't directly read an image. How an image would also work, it will get converted to encodings and then the AI would analyze it. So whenever you upload any kind of source, it will go to processing. So right now I uploaded an image. Before that I uploaded a PDF. I gave a YouTube file. Now I guess the AI responded with a certain higher token size than what I am doing by default. I'm creating chunks and embeddings of everything because I'll tell you what search logic we are actually using. So this is the raw image that was here. This is the analysis by AI. It's an online learning platform. Again, I have prompts for this. What kind of analysis I want? It has navigation menu, search courses. Then it has the course cards, the visual schema. Because maybe I'm analyzing some website. Maybe I'm analyzing some presentation. Maybe I'm trying to build some ads. So I've kept a image prompt analysis prompt in a certain way that okay, at least get all this data. Right? So it has fetched all the names of these people. And if you see the total tokens, how does this go away? Yeah. So the total tokens are only 555, right? But I'm still by default, because to keep the process consistent, I'm by default creating chunks for everything that is above 250 tokens. And why I'm doing that is because whenever I search here, right, even if I do a keyword search and non-embedded search, it will return chunks. As in, suppose I search for apple and it found the word apple, and if it found the word apple in the processed file at this level, at this time it will have to send the whole file of 555 tokens. But if I go to chunks of this file, if you search apple, you will find apple in one of these three sections, right? But at this time you have to send only 2 sentences, even if I'm doing a keyword search. So now my token cost and efficiency is higher, and my level of citation, because this is the citation I'll be showing, because citations are being shown at a chunk level. The AI knows that it has files, but when the AI searches for the file based on the file ID, we always, as in the search is always implemented into these chunks, either if it is a keyword search or a vector search, on both cases. Now now there is a base logic. If the combined chunk size is 600 tokens, send all the chunks of that file. Now the AI will get all the chunks, but it will cite only this level of chunk. It has all the chunks, but it is only citing that part of the chunk, so that your citation logic is accurate. You don't have to see the whole page. In that whole page there are some 2 sentences mentioned. Right. So now let's add another kind of source. Now there are 3 more kinds of sources. So there is a website URL. Right? So say I'll add my own website for now. And if you see right now in Google AI Studio, you could just interact and build anything. But right now, if you see, if you would want to build a quiz or a flashcard or a audio overview with the same functionalities, on what would you want to build that? Right? There is no connection. You can't use all the sources to build a mind map or a marketing strategy or a business report, right? So it's kind of nonsensical to kind of keep these activated by default. But these get activated automatically, and that we will just see how in a couple of seconds, in a couple of minutes. Right. So now when we do a web search, there are AI agents, right? So there are a couple of kind of AI agents. If you will go into your backend, whenever you see the code base, you have services, you have AI services, and you have AI agents. So there is a web agent service. Whenever you pass a website, again this web agent uses this same 6 lines of API. Even your PDF analysis agent, if whenever I was uploading a PDF file, if I go to the PDF service, everything else is just breaking or extracting or converting that PDF into an image. Again, yeah, this 6 lines of code is what analyzes the PDF as well. That same 6 lines of code fetches any data from any website as well. If you what other file that we uploaded an image, right? Again, for images as well, that same 6 lines of code. Only thing that changes are tools and the prompts, how to analyze that. If it is a PDF file, there will be a different prompt. He analyzes this PDF in this method, extract all the data, don't miss out anything, don't miss the structure. If it is an image, I want certain data from that image. If it is a website, what kind of data I want to extract from that website, that would be in my prompt. So let's see if in the backend the data got created. Right. So if it is a website or a link, the raw data is only this much, right? So that's why all the data by default gets uploaded. It comes into raw. I just see the ID. These are the IDs. So my website, my data ID is D to this thing. Now if I come to this file, so now it fetched all the data from my website, my professional portfolio, what I've done, my technical skills, my blogs, right? So this is what data it processed. So this is simple website analysis. Now if you see, this is processed here. Now except website analysis, you had your YouTube video, you had your files, you can paste any content you find on any website, any amount of content you can paste here, right? Then you have your Google Drive. So I import a good big large analysis file for testing. So this is order data. It has around 4,000-5,000 customers data in a large CSV file. You generally don't create embeddings or chunks for CSV files. Why I'm importing a CSV file is a separate reason, which I'll show you. If you see, the CSV file got immediately imported and it got immediately processed. Now again, for this CSV file as well, we have a summary function. We have a summary function for everything. Every file will get a summary generated. The YouTube video has a summary, right? The screenshot has a summary. Yeah, this is a summary. The website has a summary. And this is the order CSV file. Now, obviously, you can't summarize a file that has 50 columns and 4,000 rows. But you can write a simple AI function that just checks the top column, and sees sample data, and it can analyze. Okay, this data contains, you can write a summary function, a CSV function, which can tell you what are the total number of rows and columns and sample data, the sample data from a couple of columns. So it can guess, okay, this is what the file is about. So now, since we have all these summaries, what happens is when I chat, so these are my chats. You will always see your chat API calls, since we are not doing it in a database. So if I see the first, when I send the first message, just let me check if I'm in the same project. Yeah. So you have your system prompt, right? In the system prompt, there will by default, we had that context loader, right? The rules, the system prompt is visible in the web is the one part. Then there is a context loader, which adds certain context, which will be the user context and the project context, if there is any project context. So the system prompt is around 2, 3, 4,000 tokens, and it keeps increasing with every file source you add by 200 tokens. But that is fine. That's why most platforms will have a limit that this is the amount of data that you can. Sorry, I guess this is not the. Yeah, this is. So this is how my chat logic is built. And except that, this is for your debugging. That every time I send a message to the main chat, this is the API call that gets built. The parameters that you were seeing, right? The system prompt, the list of tools. So these are the tools that are available to the main chat. It is a store memory tool, wherein it can store user memory whenever required. It can store a project memory whenever required. Then there is a studio signal. This is a signal that it can send with certain data to this studio part. Okay, I have enough context. This user is working on this or maybe on marketing. It'll send a signal and context to certain your parts of the studio, that okay, let's activate audio overview or let's activate quiz because the user would benefit from a quiz. And it has been told that you are here to just search and assist. These are better services who have more context. If the user wants, activate them, or I can even ask if say I'm actually working on building a blog post or a PRD, so I can do my research here, and then I'll ask, I now want to build a blog. So it will send the context to the blog. Then I click on the blog. It has all the context. Will build the large, fully functional blog for me, and it can be anything in that case. Right? So it has a studio signal tool. Then it has a search sources tool. Now the search sources tool has two parts. As I said, there is a keyword search plus there is a query. So right now I take both the things because keyword search locally has no cost. I can search a keyword in my chunks if it is available and it is there. I will return those two chunks. Right? It is 200-300 tokens. Right? If it is a query, it will do a vector search on the Pinecone DB. Right? And it passes the source ID. How is the system able to pass the source ID? Because since we are building context every time, the file summary and source ID is available in the system prompt. So it can call these tools because this data is available to it, right? And this is my first API call. This was already your system prompt and tools, and this was my first message, right? And this was the response. That is one API call. The response from the AI, how what I am doing, hello, etc. What the API said. So this was this pair of message and response. Yeah, pair message response is one API call. Now, when I sent my second message, now you can just always scroll down and see. You have to build that message system. These are only the messages still here, except that the system prompt and API calls are already there. If I have added the file at this time, I had added the accidental CTO file. Yeah. So if you see here is the summary. Right? File ID, the file name, and the summary of the file. So it always in real time, because in the same chat, by the time that file was activated, I have sent the second API call. If that was active, then the system prompt has that data and context. So now if at that time it wants to search the file, it can always search the file. And if you see the total input and output tokens, it is very less, as in it is 3,800 tokens, in which is the whole API call, and the response is 118 tokens. And then this is how the API calls are building context. So if you see every API call, your input token count will start increasing because your message list keeps increasing. By the fifth API call, the AI already did a search, right? This time the assistant did a tool use. It did a search sources tool use with a keyword Atul Dubey and a query Atul Dubey. So we returned it a tool result and the content. So this is the content, and we found these relevant chunks. These are the chunk IDs, and this is not visible to you, right? When we send a tool result is not visible to the user. The assistant message will be the last response, right? That is what is visible to you. Based on the book, Atul Dubey was the VP. If you see our message right here, yeah, based on the book, Atul Dubey was the VP. And how we are doing the citation, we have already given an instruction. Whenever you have to cite a source, you write cite and you write the chunk ID, because we have passed the chunk ID in the tool result whenever we searched. So that's how this citation is happening, because whenever I hover, I already have the chunk ID. So I have a function which renders the chunk ID because I already stored my chunk ID in my database whenever I process the file. So that's why that chunking part for citations is really helpful. Now you can chunk a page, you can chunk 10 pages. It will, if the citation in those 10 pages, it will be a 10-page scroll for a word. Now, as I mentioned, that chunking logic completely depends and how you want to manage that. Yeah, someone had a question or a chat. How do you ensure that data sources I share remain private? So this is a local app. This is on your local host. all the data is on my computer. It cannot go anywhere. It is not working on the internet. If you see localhost, right, it will work without, I mean, the API also, AI will not happen, but it is on the local system. It is all private. And if you have to ensure that data is not leaked or anything, you that's why there are compliances and authentication and databases where the data is stored and indexed against, hashed ID, so no one can actually access it. But like, you have to trust someone because your data will be held with someone. So you can't change that. But if it is on a local system, it is in your PC, so you can't change, and there's no issue. Right. So now let's do another part. So we imported from a drive, we did a paste, we did a YouTube link, we uploaded files. Let's upload an audio file. So I'll upload a 30-minute audio file. It will go to processing. So how audio file will also be processed is that we connected 11 labs, right? So 11 labs or Gemini or GPT would transcribe from audio to text or even from text to audio. So whenever you have to do searches or embed data or create chunks, you always have to convert that audio file. If you have to use that audio file with an AI, even say when even I send a voice message here to GPT directly, that voice message in the end goes as a text message. And even if GPT is responding to me in voice, it is always sending text, and that text becomes voice with a service. That is an AI model. So in the end, everything goes as a string of tokens or text. It's just when you have to send tokens, that is how your vector search is different. When you create embeddings, if I go to Pinecone right now, where our embeddings are inserted. So this is the third-party vector DB. This is an external DB where storing our data. So when you connect Pinecone, all this setup will happen automatically. You don't have to do anything. If you have to connect Pinecone, you just log in, create your API key, and just enter your API key in the project section. It will automatically create the database. It will automatically create the structure. You don't have to worry about anything. Right. So if you see, this is what an embedding is. These values. So when I do RAG, I create tokens. So these are tokens that get stored. This is metadata. Metadata is separate. This you can't, as this is stored just for reference, because how search will happen if I run a query. So when I run a query, that query also gets converted into embeddings, these tokens. Then these tokens are searched against these tokens, and that's how that semantic relevance, cosine similarity is found out against tokens, because tokens are in a way very useful where say I'll give you an example. You are running a bot on Shopify store, and it's a toy store, and it's very simple to understand from this example. Suppose someone comes and they search that I want a toy for a 6-year-old girl. Then you want to show them 3 products. If you do semantic search, in 90% cases, if your chunk size is right, it will find out products which are in colors which in the society are in general closer to a girl. So the colors it will show will be purple, pink, in those types. And then the products will show depending upon the age and the word girl and the word gift. It would be say doll houses or teddies or a Barbie. By default, you don't have to write for a Barbie. You don't have to write the color. You don't have to write the doll. That's how these are the places your semantic search becomes very valuable, because if you don't know what to search for but you know the feeling, so it basically you can understand, like, based on feelings it gets very close to those tokens, and it will return me that this is the search ID which was very close. So now it returns in the search ID. That's why now AI can't directly read tokens. AI can only read these texts. So it returns me this ID. So based on this ID, I fetch the metadata and I return this text to AI. So then this text again has the source ID. We have because we created chunks, we indexed chunks. So that chunk has an ID. So by default, it can cite any data. Again, so if it is searched by keyword or if it's searched by vector embedding, in any case, the logic of storing and chunking is same. You want to do keyword search, you want to do vector search. If you keep the same logic, it becomes easier, and it is not expensive. It is very cheap. And if you have to solve for that problem, that comes at a very different level of optimization when you're spending millions of dollars in tokens every day, that is when a 10% or 15% optimization would add any value. But say up to $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, there is no point, because the maximum it is already at 95% efficiency, but that last 5% would require someone to work for 2 months only on optimizing embeddings in chunking. And I built this in 4 days, and it is 95% accurate. Right now, we have uploaded an MP3 file. Let's see how that got processed. So this is the MP3 file raw. Right, CCB. If you see, yeah, so it is one single line. Because in text files, if it is a single line, because transcript or files will give you a single line, but still we chunk based on tokens. So this whole file is 8,000 tokens. So it must have gone into approximately 200 each, 250 each. This is, then you see the count of tokens. But that's why every file has a common system. This is useful to search and split and clean the text, because when you do embeddings, you have to have clean text. You can't send, when I go to Pinecone, that metadata will have only this data, and this is what the embedding is created for. Because if I create embeddings for this will pollute the data. So I have to always keep my text clean. Right. So now I'll ask, can you So I have asked it, can you tell me what are our top selling products? Now I have attached multiple sources. I am a, I have attached a marketing plan. I have attached my order data. I run a Shopify store, and I don't have to specify anything, because the system has that information. It has that access to the CSV file. Now, see why I added CSV file, because for CSV file we again have a different process. So I'll close the data folder because the data folder gets big because of the small files. Right? So the CSV file has its own agent called CSV analyzer. So this CSV analyzer can open a pandas data frame and run queries like any other analytical person. Right? So if you see this terminal, so it is actually running queries, and it will find the data from any size of database. Once it finds the data, I've given it additional tools. That okay, tools to generate your bar charts, line diagrams, pie charts, whatever you want to kind of generate. Right? So if I ask it for even if I don't ask it, it has now generated this. So if I open that orders data here, you will see, again, if you want to even verify. So since it has run query on our database, that data is accurate. So these are my top 5 best sellers. Right? And this is, I open image in a larger file. This is the analysis of that data. And if you see the cost till now, the total cost till now, we have sent in 400 file, 400 page, 340 page PDF file, a large 2-hour video transcript, one orders data, a 30-minute video, a website analysis, and the total cost till now has been at $1.82. If you're doing, 7 websites, analyzing some designs and building some ads, it will not cost you more than $0.4, $0.5. But that can also be optimized by another 50%. As in, there are batching APIs for Haiku. I can immediately cut down the cost by 50%. But that is not the aim today. That the aim is to understand how this LLM works. So this cost can be brought down to 30 cents by using different models for different services, batching, prompt caching. There are further 10 optimization techniques that you can understand, but that is not what you have to understand. Right? So I will tell this now. Okay, I want to do ad creatives for my top 2 products. So now it is just gathering some context, and it will pass that context to the signal system. And even if you see this data analysis, like if you have an analytics team, you have to run bunch of pivots, bunch of queries on any database to kind of get that data, and the cost was around like 60-70 rupees, and I'm pretty sure everyone pays at least 2,000 to 3,000 rupees to any analytics person per day. Yeah, hi Sandeep. By your end, gets the data.
I think you did mention this, just checking it once again, right? So you uploaded multiple sources of data, right? And you're trying to
Right.
make some query. So it is very possible that there might be related data in any of the other data sets also, right? Maybe an orders data is also present, some information maybe in a YouTube or in that accidental video book, for example, right? Hypothetically. So
Orders data is being, I don't think it would be there. If there are multiple orders data CC files, it would either ask me what to query, or otherwise it will query all three files. It can parallelly query all three files.
That's what I'm asking. Yeah. Okay. Sure. And the code file that you're showing essentially, right? So every time you upload a particular data set, essentially, right? So the code is written in such a way that it will create a folder structure of that particular data, embedding chunks and everything, and it'll keep on appending to it every time you upload a data set.
Right. So the chunks are, if I modify a file, only it will append to that particular file. Otherwise the chunks will start corrupting other files. Right. So the separation of files is always maintained. As in, I would not chunk my audio file with my YouTube video with my orders data. So if I see here, right, so I have my raw files. With the raw files, you will see the exact IDs of processed files. With these exact IDs of processed files, you will have chunk folders. In those file IDs, you will have chunk for those files only. Those will not overlap, because when the main agent or main chat is either searching or executing an analysis, it passes a file ID, right, and queries based on the summary of the file. So then we run, as in, to optimize further, right? So if you see in our database, so we have created namespaces. So namespaces are based on projects. So now if I'm working, I'm working in this project. So why would I want to search data from another project? So that's why there's a namespace separation at a project level. Now, if I want to further refine the search, that's why there's a source ID. That is the file ID itself. Okay, I am the agent is sure that I am talking about orders, so it only wants to search within that file ID. If it is not sure, it can do parallel tool calls and search across multiple files. Right now, if you see here in my studio, my add creative section got activated because it has passed the data to the ad creative system, a certain context, and the ad creative system itself is an agent. If that requires more data, it can go to the sources and analyze. So now this becomes highly contextual. So if I click on this, now it will generate Instagram and Facebook ads for my top selling products. Right. So now it becomes highly accurate, and the total cost is around $2.14, in which I did random stuff as well. If I only wanted to analyze and create ads for my top products, it would directly work.
Thank you.
So the haiku model is sometimes unreliable in terms of following instructions. So I had added the haiku model here, so it is not generating the prompt itself. Now in this case, I'll add sonnet and I'll keep the temperature low. It should generate the prompt. The haiku model was unreliable. That you get to know only after using models, that optimization, right? So if you see, if I zoom in, now it's generating the images because the prompts were passed to Google's Gemini 3 Pro service to generate these images. And so if I have to say build a workflow, I feed in my Facebook ads data every day, and it analyzes what are the top performing products and it generates new creatives based on that. So it becomes a workflow of say $5 per day, and you get like 6, 7, 10, 15 creatives in that amount, which would be very relevant. And now if you have to optimize further, you can add more context for only for creative services. Right? So I built all of this in 4 days. If I spend say 30 days on this, I mean I can do multiple other things. So these are the products. High resolution image, I can download the files, right? I can view the files in large sizes, and you can optimize the prompts in any way you want. You want a LinkedIn post, you can have text on the post. You want a infographic, you want a whatever you want, as in whatever you can imagine and think of. It just puzzles being together, and you just have to be aware at what point you have to pass the right context, because the right context is what that matters. If you go to chat gpt right now and you tell generate me images for these three products, it will not be able to generate this accuracy of images. But this prompt was passed, the brands was passed. Except this prompt, there is another configuration that gets passed. The sizes, it is for Facebook, and just building that context and sending it gets you this result. And if you spend another 10% of optimization, it becomes very, very perfect. So that's how say an ad creative system works. Now say I want to so I had my video transcript or my YouTube video, right? So I asked it, because it now has context, it will activate that this audio overview and quiz, because I've asked it. Or otherwise, if I was just talking about learning, it would automatically activate it, because it knows I'm talking about learning. Because within this same chat, I'm talking about multiple things, so it will not automatically generate. But if I'm telling it to quiz and audio transcript for my session, it will. And once this is activated, we'll just run that as well. We'll be generating we'll regenerate the audio transcript for that YouTube video all over again. Yeah. Send audio signals. Yeah. If you see, quiz and audio are activated, and it has passed context. This is the audio is it knows for what the audio has to be generated in my session, right? And it has passed certain queries and structures. Now it has to be better grammar, so it will not directly take my transcript. It will modify the transcript. Now it is working on this. So it will generate a new script based on those prompts, and AI service will work on that. It will generate a better script. Then it will generate a new transcript of my same session, but the way I want. Yeah, so Anshul, sorry. Oh, sorry. Yeah, people have a couple of questions. Sorry, one question. Broad question: how do you go about building such a platform? I mean, from a blank canvas to reach here, how do you approach building this? I mean, I just test other platform, then whatever I feel wrong and I think can be done in a better way, and I just try to do it, because I have this like godlike tool here. This person, I just go to Cloud, and if I show you my old charts, Cloud works in a particular folder. So I am working with Cloud on this folder. I can continue any old chat. I can chat as long as I want, and this is the best tool ROI I would say I have. Either Cloud or GPT, Codex, or whatever you feel. So I can resume any chat. So these are my sessions. Every chat is like 100, and in these 117 messages, there will be tool calls from the AI itself, right? And I would literally just talk. I have not written a single line of code here. I have just thought about it. I've told the process, and I've told that this should be the logic, and then it will discuss with me, okay, this is how we will implement, and then I just press enter, and it is done. And if I show you like literal, if I'll show you this fundamentals level 5, sorry, not ProText. Yeah, so the script is done. It is now converting to audio. We'll come back there. So this is the Git repo, and if you go to commits, so the stable commit 1 is the day I started working on this. This is 24th November. This is when this stable commit 1 level 5, and then after 24th, 25, 26, I guess then every day 3-4 hours. And yesterday I did a little code refactoring, added comments so that people can read and code becomes usable. And that's all. Like, that is the amount of time it took to build this. If but I am able to do this because I've been fighting with the code. I'm trying to understand logic. I know what code and what systems to put there, and why that happened because I started using that one API, because that pattern and that structure, if you use that one API, is common for all other APIs. The only blocker with other APIs is that there are too many things and it is not very useful. But if you're playing with the AI APIs, and it's fun. You can do so many things, with whatever you can imagine, whatever puzzle you can think of, you can try and do that. If it works, if it works. If it doesn't work, at least you learn something. And it's just one API. There's no blocker. And once you do that for a few times, you get comfortable with any other APIs. Since now, as you see that I have integrated so many APIs, my Google account or Google Auth is connected. If I go here, right, so literally a consent screen. This is the easiest integration where maximum developers would feel, yeah, how do I even integrate? If I have to connect, it literally will ask me to authenticate, and it is just a 2-minute process where I'm actually logging in by Google. Literally a 2-minute process. I have to go to the Cloud console, create an API key, paste that API key, and then write a prompt of my user journey. That's all. Tokens are stored, security is maintained, access is given by myself via Google. So it's very easy that way. Sorry. Yeah. So now we have that 30-minute.
Welcome to this session on AI agents. I'm Neil, and I'm excited to share what I've learned about building with artificial intelligence. Before we dive in, let me give you a quick background. I spent several years in technical product management at Dukan, where I worked on scaling products and understanding how technology could solve real business problems.
So I can download this. I can change the tone, change the accent, change the language, however I want. I can modify. So I've not implemented this. You just have to pass the key, EN for English, HIN for Hindi, Bengali. There are 99 languages supported by the API in one parameter. You don't have to change anything. Like if Google is saying you that you can do 99 languages, the only change in the API key is one parameter, EN, BEN Bengali, etc. And there is no other change. Nothing more than that. And if you see that implementation I have done here. अरे मैं हिंदी में कुछ लिखना चाहता हूँ. No, I'll write in English. Sorry. In real time it converted to Hindi, but it reverted itself in real time and changed it to English. And this works for 99 languages and correction and recorrection. This is how your whisper flow or your audio transcript meeting tools work. So I did not build a meeting tool because then people can't use it, because then you have to. This is a web app, so it can get access of my web system. But if you build a meeting tool, a little technical challenge is that if I build it for MacBook, people who are using Windows and want to test the code will have to rebuild it, because Windows has different permissions of giving access. MacBook has a different permission. So web is common and simple for easier for everyone else, right? This is what the system is. And further things like I have already built the blog post generator, presentation generator in our modules which are available right here in level 4. You have a blog generator, you have a module generator. The same implementation has to be just attached to, say, this function. Whenever context is passed, a blog generator will start and it will generate the blog. If you want to publish it to a website, it will publish. If you want to download it, will download. Same goes for presentations. Same goes for everything or anything that you can think of. You can literally have a lovable here that you research about websites, and you have a website builder. So I have a product called Codebase called ShipStation available. So we built that last year. That is a website builder we launched before Lovable. But obviously I launched it myself alone here, and I launched it for free for everyone. So that Codebase is also available. You can build websites, anything you can think of. You can build email marketing templates, whatever comes to your mind that can be built or generated or fetched and connected together can be done. Yeah. So yeah, so that would be it for today's session, I guess. And in a few hours or some time, I will just clean up this repo and add comments and readme files and instructions for if you want to implement it, or your AI system wants to implement it, it can read that file and can do it for you. And don't be scared of this IDE thing, because like I think the best time of playing with technology is right now. As in, there has been no better time. The learning curve is very less, and you have so much assistance that you can ask the dumbest questions. You can ask, okay, what is the right solution? What are the pros and cons? And you have a personal person. You can ask 100 questions per day. No developer friend will give you that much time, and you can't Google that much. And you can reason here, and then you can implement. And if you're a product or a business person, I would say you have a better advantage, because most developers would solve in terms of technology. They would not, like, for example, you take the Google example. It is faster. It is something better. But like, what is the point of generating an infographic which is not related to any source that I have loaded? And I want to generate a business report of my orders, but it is not able to analyze it. So what do I do of all this speed and chunking and business report generator? It is fundamentally useless, right? So I would say product, business, and people who understand where context is important and what is the actual value of that system can spend a very little amount of time and build very great stuff. Yeah. So, yeah, so that was it for today. If anyone has any questions, they can unmute and ask any Q&A. After a little while, you guys will get the recording, the meeting notes, and obviously the repo is already live. Certain parts of the repo are committed, but the latest version will take a couple of hours of cleanup in terms of my data and comments, and then everyone can kind of use it. Yeah. So if you guys don't have a question, you just do leave a feedback at the GrowthX page, and honest feedback, so that it just kind of helps me build towards better online sessions. Because I feel it gets kind of boring talking too much technology and stuff for a couple of hours. But yeah.
Neil, one quick question there, right? So this is a tool that you built. Is this a pretty big tool in terms of functionality and so many things, right? So while thinking about it, since you didn't really purely code it, right? You took help from Claude and everything, but to ideate, to generate the whole functionality, right, and understanding of what is the overall business process. Do you ideate with, let's say, Claude or with ChatGPT, and then you start with the coding piece? What's the overall thought
No.
process?
So the overall thought process is that I would spend, as in you can't and you should not hand over your thinking process. As in that thinking process needs to be contained in yourself. Your thinking process can be wrong. You can build out 10 wrong products, but you can't hand over thinking to these AI systems. As in, even how much ever they mimic your personality or how many thinking tags or thinking loading it shows you, it is not actually thinking. It is just predicting tokens. AI is a million times more knowledgeable than me, but it cannot be smarter than me. And how I compare that is, on this one AI model, you have spent $2 billion and 3 years of training, and say it does math Olympiad better. You give me $2 billion and 3 years of training, and you tell me if anyone can beat me in a math Olympiad. That's the part. I can train way faster. Every human can train way faster, because you will always be smarter, but AI will always be knowledgeable. And to use it properly, you have to be smart. You have to prompt right. For example, a very simple example. Say, if you don't know the terms, you can't access that knowledge. If I have to explain, uh, you know, uh, uh, customer acquisition cost. So either I don't know what the word CAC is. If I don't know what the word CAC is, I would write 2 paragraphs that I spend this much money on marketing, and this much customer order comes and he stays for 6 months, and I'm spending 3 paragraphs of tokens, or I say CAC, and I can access that knowledge available with the AI because of that token similarity. So to know the word CAC, you need to be smart. To know the word user journey, user behavior, expected system behavior, error, or a client, or a API, or a backend, or caching. Unless you know these words, you can't prompt. If you use AI tools to write better AI prompts, then it is a negative, feeding loop, and the output can never get better. So people create vibe coding apps. This is also a vibe coded app. There's a huge difference between a general vibe coded app and this vibe coded app.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so that's the process. And all you have to do is just spend 15 minutes on thinking and writing one user journey and expected behavior. And if you think good, then the system itself will also access that knowledge, because it has that knowledge. Other people's data has been trained, and it has trained on very smart people's data. So then it will add value to your thinking, and then it will tell you, okay, we can cover these cases also. What do you think about this? If I give fix this, it will also, I can't fix this, it'll act like that average developer, right? So why does it write bad code? Because it is trained on bad code, because it is trained on some code, and it has been written by some people. If everyone followed the standards of what were written in the books, AI would write the most perfect code. If developers were not hard coding or adding small hacks here and there, so why would AI add those hacks? Because it is literally trained on that code. There is no other way it is doing that. So you have to be smart to make it better. There is no, I think, possible solution. Yeah. All right, guys. If anyone has any other questions, we'll take that. I guess it's 1:15. If you are not asleep, you can leave. All right, guys. Bye.